like you're gonna get it. Here we go. Okay, I will continue to add people in as they join because we do still have people kind of joining in, but we can go ahead and get started, James. Thanks again, everybody, for coming today. We're excited to have you. This is a really good thing to learn about right now.
All right. Sam, you ready for me?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. It is so good to be here with you. Everybody wave your hands. Give me a big smile. Woo! Okay. Today, we're going to talk about a 2-1 buy down. Now, there's this could be a real quick presentation. It could take a little bit longer. I do love questions. Sam, will you monitor the chat? I don't have access. I don't have my chat up. So feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions anytime. This is going to be an open forum. And there's no such thing as stupid questions. So feel free to ask away. So Sam gave me an agenda right over here. Everybody can see my screen. You should see two sides. I have an Excel spreadsheet on one side. I've got a little presentation on the other side. So the questions I'm going to talk about today are what is a 2-1 buy down? What are the options? Benefits for buyers and sellers? What happens to the money if buyer refinances or sells within that 2-year period? What loan programs are eligible? And then we're going to go over a calculation on how that works. Okay, so let me just do a quick presentation. Let me go over some things and then keep your questions till I've gone through it and then fire away afterwards. So step number one, what is a 2-1 buy down? So it's going to be a 30-year fixed mortgage. It can be a conventional loan. It can be an FHA loan. It can be a VA, FHA, VA, and conventional. USTA, it might be possible, but there's some problems with it. So I'm not going to put that on the yes list. And then let's stay away from jumbo as well. So really any conventional loan below the 647. Your FHA loans are right around the 510, just kind of depends on the county limit. Okay, so in a nutshell, a 2-1 buy down is where the interest rate for the first year is 2% less. And then the second year of the mortgage, it is 1% less. And then the third year on, it goes to the fully amortized rate. So what does that mean? Someone starts out a rate at 5.5%. That means their payment for the first 12 months or first year will be based on 2% less or 3.5%. And I'll go over that in a second. And then the second year, months 13 through 24, the rate would be 4.5%, 1% less. And then after 25 months on, then their payment will be based on the full 5.5%, whatever that start rate is. And it just depends on where the market is and where someone's credit is. And you'll see on these examples that I'm going to show you in a second, rates were higher than today, which is a good thing because it wouldn't cost as much today as it would a few weeks ago. Okay. Now, are there other options than a 2-1 buy down? Yes, we have what's called a 2-1 buy down. We also have what's called a permanent rate buy down. And what that means is, okay, so now the buyer cannot pay any of the money. They cannot pay the money toward the 2-1 buy down. Really, the only ones that can pay toward that are the seller, or if an agent and a lender are willing to contribute their commissions to help pay for it, then that's a possibility as well. Now, one thing to keep in super important with a 2-1 buy down, and that is we have to qualify based on the fully amortized rate. So if someone goes out and they buy a little bit above their price range, we can't look at a 2-1 buy down. Okay, hey, let's just switch into that. We can get a payment $500 less for the first year. We can qualify on that. That doesn't work that way. Okay, so keep that in mind. They have to qualify for the fully amortized payment. Okay. How does this benefit the buyer? Well, it's really simple. You know, if we can save them $500 a month for the first year, that's $500 a month in their pocket, $6,000 for the first year. Okay. You know what? Someone's struggling that they've got just enough money for the down payment, but they don't have money for furniture. They don't have money for landscaping. You know, any of those costs, it's kind of cool that they can now take that money that they're saving and put it toward, you know, furnishing the house, landscaping the house, kind of thing. Now, from a seller perspective, there is a cost, and I'll go over that in a second, But the benefit from a seller is now you've got something else to add. Now, 6 months ago, a year ago, obviously this wasn't even an option. I mean, seller isn't even given closing costs. But this could be something that a seller can do to incentivize someone to buy their home. Builders have already jumped onto this. If you've walked around, many builders are offering, something along this lines. Hey, we'll do a 2-1 buy down. And this is in lieu of dropping their price. I mean, why would a builder want to do a 2-1 buy down versus drop their price $10,000? Well, it keeps the comps high. And so if the seller just drops their price $10,000, now all of a sudden the comps are going down and they're devaluing their properties, where they can still sell it for 10,000 more. They give this incentive and it still looks like prices are still staying high. Okay. So that's really where a seller, and any seller can do it, whether it's a builder or just a someone not regular homeowner that does that. Okay. Now, before I jump into the next question, let me go to this sheet right here it's on the left of my screen. I'm assuming that's where it is for you guys as well. But let's just put in a scenario. Okay. Let's say rates today are 5.375. I'm just kind of throwing that out. I mean, it just depends on credit score, loan program. Could be a little higher, a little bit lower. It doesn't matter. Let's just say the client today has a rate of 5.375. And what I did is I just put in a $500,000 purchase price with 5% down or 25,000 down. So that gives us a loan amount of $475. Can everybody just give me a thumbs up or a nod of your head? Can you see my screen okay? Is it big enough? Okay, do I need to make it bigger or anything, or is it good? Okay, good, awesome, okay. So we lock him in at a rate of 5.375. The regular principal and interest payment is going to be $2,659. Of course, taxes, insurance, and mortgage insurance are extra, but I've just excluded that for simplicity's sake. So in this exact scenario, they're fully amortized. Principal and interest is $2,659. We implement a 2-1 buy down. That rate of 3.375 for the first 12 months gives our client a $2,099 principal and interest payment. This saves them $559. Now, agents that are on or are listening to this, think about this. What could you do if you posted on Facebook? I could potentially save you $500 a month for your first month. Message me to learn how. Okay. Could that be an advertisement that might get some buyers moving along? Think about that. Okay. Let me talk to you how I can save you. You take that 559 times 12, that's $6,700. Let me tell you how I can save you $10,000 off the purchase of your home. Okay. This, even if you don't get your seller to agree to it, this is a great way to just, put some bait on that little hook, throw it out there and get some buyers interested that maybe are not interested. All right. So first year savings would be $559. And then the second year, their savings would be $288 a month. All right. How this costs, it's really simple. You just take those savings. So the first year, the savings would be $6,718. The second year, the savings would be $3,459. Well, guess what? The client just saved $10,177. The problem is everything's got to balance out. And so that's what we would need the seller to pay, or the builder in this case. And so if we had that deal going out today, I would tell the agent to ask for 2.14%. Now, here's another important thing that agents need to know, and that is interested party contributions. Okay, the seller, whether it's a builder or a regular seller, and the real estate agents are considered interested party contribution. Interested parties. And that deals with the interested party contributions. All right. So conventional, it's typically 3%. So you can give up to 3% between you, the agent, and the seller. If you have the seller giving 3%, what I've run into is we've had agents have negotiated 3% concessions, and then, hey, it's their kid or their whatever, and they want to throw an extra $1,000, $2,000 of their commission toward the deal. You can't do that. I mean, or you can, but then we have to reduce what the seller's paying, because you cannot exceed that 3%. Government loans, it's 6% of the purchase price. So usually government loans, you're not going to have to worry about that. Now, again, concessions last 2 years, 2021, 2020 and 2021, concessions weren't even a thing. Before that, I mean, 8 out of 10 offers. Anytime I did a pre-approval letter, I'd always say, seller to pay 1.5% toward closing costs. So it's the same thing whether the seller gives this toward closing costs, gives it toward a 2-1 buy down. Either one is great. Okay. All right. So let me talk about one more thing. What happens if my buyer refinances before the 2 years has passed? Okay, so we go and we do this deal. We negotiate with the seller to pay $10,000 toward the buy down. All right. And let's say a year later, rates drop and the client chooses to refinance, or they sell the home for whatever reason. Just last week I had a client call me up and we helped them buy last year. And James, I hate my neighbors. I want out. Okay. And so we would love to help you. So, but what happened is let's say after a year, they've only used 6,700, but there's 3,400 still in an escrow account. The cool thing is that money goes back to the buyer. Now the lender doesn't write them a check. They just reduce it off of the payoff, which essentially is just extra cash in the client's pocket. Okay. Okay, last thing that I want to hit on. Well, let's do another example. Let's throw in a $600,000 purchase price, and let's say the client is putting down $50,000. Okay, and let's say 5.25 interest rate. Whoops. What? Oh, down payment. Oh, 60,000, 600. My numbers aren't working. What's going on here?
I was like, you're missing some zeros.
Something's wrong. I was like, okay. So at this scenario, 550,000 loan amount, principal interest would be 3,037. The fully amortized payment, what we have to qualify them for, but they will save 2,000. I mean, they'll have a payment of 2,393. Therefore, their savings are 643 a month for the first year, 7,700. And so you see how that percent is still right around that 2.1. So if you're ever asking for your clients, it's going to be right around that 2.1, but just double check with us before we can tell you exactly how much to ask for and get that right. Now, if you get more, that's okay. We can use anything extra toward closing costs and prepaids. Okay. If it's less, then we have to figure out if the seller pays less, the buyer can't make up the difference. Okay. So then it's going to come down to either we can't do it at all, or you, the agent, or we, the lender, we're going to have to figure out how to make up that difference. Because again, if it costs 11,700 and we get $11,650 from the seller and no one else is contributing, we cannot do it. The buyer cannot come in with that $50. Either we have to throw it in, or the realtor would have to. Okay. All right. So there's one other option. And so we have the 2-1 buy down is a temporary buy down. It's temporary for 2 years. We also have what's called the permanent buy down. Okay. Now this was done, I made this up 3 weeks ago or something like that when rates were closer to 6. Everybody, good news, rates are coming down. Pop on your Facebook, your social media, guys. Rates have come down. The Fed raised rates 0.75%. Any loan officers on you? I haven't seen an uptick in rates. Any loan officers? Is that the same thing as well? Okay. So Fed rate 0.75% on Monday, no effect on mortgage rates. So I've got clients coming to me right now that are, hey, they're expecting 5.7, high 6s, and I'm telling them, hey, good news. It's funny. Good news, we're in the low 5s. And they're like, yay, that kind of thing. And so I'm even locking people in the higher 4s. We're having to buy a little bit, pay some points to get that down. And that's what I want to talk about here. We also have what's called a permanent buy down. So instead of doing a temporary buy down, we could do a permanent buy down. And so let's say we had 2% to work with instead of doing a 2-1 buy down. In this scenario, it would have costed that, if we would need, 3%. This is the crazy thing. I mean, 3 weeks ago, it would cost 3% to buy down to 4.99. I haven't looked at the rates today, but it's nowhere near that to buy that down that much. But if in this scenario is, let's say we took that 2% and we bought down from 5.875 to 4.99. That's going to save the clients $200 a month, $23.90 a year. But look at this, $71,000 over the life of the loan. So for a cost in this scenario I ran a $378,000 purchase price. A buy down cost of $7,000 would save the client $71,000 over the life of the loan. Now, pros and cons here. Pro is, hey, this will save a ton of money. But the reality is if we lock someone in at 4.99, chances are pretty good sometime in the next year to 3 or even no longer than 5, we're going to be refinancing out of it. Okay. Temporary buy down, you refinance or sell before the 2 years are up. Any overage, client gets that back. A permanent buy down, client refinances next month, sells next month. Guess what? It's all gone. That money is spent. There's no recouping it for the client. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, that is my presentation. I went through it pretty fast. It's time for Q&A, questions and answers, and anything I went through fast that you need more clarification on. Go ahead.
I just want to add something, James.
Please.
I had a agent that I was telling about this, and he said, I don't want my clients to know that I can contribute. And that's completely fine, right? The way
Yeah.
that you market this as an agent, you can get creative in so many different ways by marketing this to get buyers walking into homes. But you don't have to tell them that you can contribute or that the lender can contribute. But what you can do is say, you know, I'm going to fight for every penny I can get in seller concessions. And we can determine whether it's better for you to go with a 2-1 buy down or if the seller concessions are going towards a permanent buy down.
Yep, I love that. And as a loan officer, I will never tell a client that an agent can contribute.
Right.
Okay. Any loan officer that does that, I mean, it's just like someone saying that I can give away my commission. That would piss me. Sorry, I don't shouldn't use that word. That would upset me greatly if someone else is telling the client that I can contribute. Okay. So we would never do that for an agent. So thanks for bringing that up, Sam.
We had a comment in the chat ask, can you share that spreadsheet?
Absolutely. Sam has a copy of that. So yeah, just get with Sam on that and she can send that to anybody. So good. Other questions?
Janet asked if we can show us the rest of the slides. My guess is that you already covered everything that's in the rest of the slides, but we
Are you
could
guys
send
good?
those out.
Yeah, it'll take, do you want me to go through them really quick?
Sure.
The rest of the slides? Okay, let me just run through them. I'm pretty sure I covered everything, but this will be really good. Okay. So temporary buy down. It's a loan where the interest rate is bought down temporarily for the first year of the loan. This can help a buyer ease into the full mortgage payment. We allow a 2-1 buy down. We don't, I mean, you may have heard of 3-1 buy downs, whatever. We only have access to a 2-1 buy down. Okay. But I heard that there's a 3-1. You know what? If it's out there, we don't offer it. Okay. How does a 2-1 temporary buy down work? Just like I mentioned, the rate is bought down for the first 2 years. If the note rate is 5%, the rate is reduced to 3% for the first year, 4% for the second year, then remains at the note rate of 5% for the remaining life. The monthly payment reflects the rate at the time, so the payments are lower during the first 2 years. The seller, lender, builder funds the buy down, deposits the buy down funds into an escrow account, and then these funds are used to, so the seller or the builder would pay this money at closing through escrow and be deducted from their side. It goes into an escrow account, and then the shortage where the buyer pays the less amount each month, the difference is pulled from that escrow account every month. If the loan is sold into the secondary market, the escrow account is sold with it, and so that just it subsidizes that every month. Okay. Why would I consider a temporary buy down as a seller? You can offer this option as a concession for the sale of your property, thus giving more buyers an incentive to purchase your property in a higher rate environment without lowering your list price. Sellers really don't care about that, but a builder, that's a big thing. They want to keep their list prices high to keep the values higher, okay? And possibly a motivation for a buyer to get off the fence. And as a buyer, lower payments in the beginning years help free up cash flow, home improvements, furniture purchases, or landscape. This here just is this shows it. This is hard to see. Oh, that didn't work. There we go. Okay. And this just shows the chart that I just showed you here. I don't need that. I need to go over this again. We do need a minimum 680 FICO. Owner occupied purchase transactions only. Second homes, investment properties do not work. Fixed rate only. Borrower funded does not work. And then there may be a small pricing adjustment. This is what this says. To do a 2-1 buy down. In reality, a client wouldn't even know the difference. Okay. All right, next slide.
James, we had a couple questions in the chat. Can I bring those up really quick?
Please do.
Okay, Carla asked, number one, does security offer any money towards a 2-1 buy down?
So that's, yeah,
Go
let me
ahead.
ask, yeah, let me just, that's something that we can negotiate with every client. I mean, it's just like a realtor giving their part of their commission. Yeah, we can definitely offer part of that. We can't offer the full amount just because our margins are compressed in this market. What it means is, as lenders, when we sell a loan into the secondary market, we have what's called SRP, service release premium. Okay. And those we used to be able to do no closing cost loans all day long. We used to be able to, and what you do is it's called premium pricing. We would bump the rate and we'd cover that. Those margins in this market right now are compressed. So, and this is across the board. This is with all lenders. Could we contribute? Possibly, yes. Could we pay the whole amount? Absolutely not. There's just not the margins there to take care of that. Good. What was the other question there, Sam?
The other one was, do you offer a 1-0 buy down option?
We only offer the 2-1 buy down. See, and a 1-0 would be just, it's 1% lower for 1 year. So I don't know who offers those, if they're out there or not, but we only have access to the 2-1 buy down.
Morgan just asked, clarify, are down payments required if the borrower cannot contribute?
So everything's going to be the same when it comes to the loan amount. This is a great question. So, I mean, a 2-1 buy down doesn't help with down payment assistance, doesn't help with closing costs or anything like that. It's all it is just money contributed to buy the rate down 2% and 1%. Okay. So if you're doing a conventional loan, you're going to be minimum 3% or 5%. Okay. Be able to go 3% down. They need to be either a first time home buyer or, make less than, 6,000 to 7,000 a month. Otherwise they need to put down minimum 5%. FHA, FHA is going to require 3.5% down. I'm just trying to remember if Utah Housing, does anybody know? I don't know if Utah Housing allows 2-1 buy downs. I think not.
I don't think so. I don't think they do.
I'm pretty sure that's not an option. So yeah, if we go FHA, they're going to have the 3.5% down. Okay. This next, it just shows it needs to be disclosed on both the loan estimate as well as the final CD closing disclosure. And you'll see these buy down funds here. Okay. And then, we need to make sure that we have the buy down agreement in place. CD licit, buy down should be listed as a lender or a seller credits. So yeah, we definitely can, as lenders, we can contribute to that. Okay. But it just all depends on the pricing. For our funded buy downs, ineligible. And I mentioned this already, seller paid buy downs must be included in IPC limits, interested party contributions, 3% for conventional, 6% for government loans. Okay. Borrower must be qualified at the note rates. And we talked about if the loan is refied or paid off before any excess funds are reduced from the payoff. So, okay.
Cindy asked, really quick, James. Cindy asked, what is the best way to write that into an offer? Can you use the standard closing cost clause or do you need specific language?
Fabulous question. Just the same thing for asking for closing costs. Okay. And in fact, I wouldn't even ask it as a 2-1 buy down. I would just say seller to pay 2.1% toward buyer's closing costs, prepaids or buy down. So that makes it the easiest way to do it, especially if we have some excess funds. Because if you write it, seller to pay X amount for 2-1 buy down and we have extra funds, if you write it as buy down, then I can't really use those funds. But if it'd be nice to use it, just to reduce closing costs for the client or something like that.
We go back to the calculator.
Yes.
And if agents are wanting this calculator, the tricky part is you won't have access to what pricing looks like today. So, and you might not know exactly what a buyer's looking for, like what their down payment is. You might have a good idea, but this is very personalized to each person's situation. It's not a generic calculation.
Yep. Okay, great.
And really the best way to handle this is simply to look at that percentage, if you're looking at how much this is going to cost your seller or how much to ask for, it's going to be about that 2.1% across the board, no matter what the loan amount is. It's very close to that number every time.
Mhm.
Yep. It could change, you know, if the client's putting a lot down.
Mhm.
But yeah, if we're talking low downs, yep, you're exactly right. Okay.
Any other questions? Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Am I going to get people out in less than 30 minutes? That never
That would
happens
be a
with my
miracle.
meetings. Never happens.
I might have missed this, but did we talk about on a permanent buy down where the money goes compared to, you said for a 2-1 buy down, it goes into an escrow account, but where does it go for a permanent buy down?
That's paid to the lender. So that money is gone the second it's paid down. Client sells, refinances within a month or 6 months or whatever. There's no
gone.
recouping those funds. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Does this excite anyone? I feel like it's such good news. It's fun to have creative ways to market, to try to get traffic in. We talked to an agent and she said it's not necessarily something she wants to put in the public remarks, but definitely when you have a listing, to put it in the agent remarks that your seller's willing to contribute towards a 2-1 buy down. And that might generate kind of some information. There's not a lot of people that have all the details on this, a lot of agents, so you might be educating people throughout the process, but if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We can help everybody kind of navigate how it all works.
Sam, let me throw in a couple more thoughts here. Okay.
Yeah.
Agents that are on this call right now. Okay. Your clients are going to go with whatever your mindset is. Okay. If you're thinking out there right now, this is a bad time to buy, you're going to demonstrate, you're going to show that out there and your client's going to think the exact same thing. The reality is now is never a good time to buy. Okay. Now is a horrible time to buy. In 2018, we would have said now is a horrible time to buy. Rate prices are the highest that they've ever been. But here's the reality. Okay. Tomorrow or next year is going to be a worse time to buy. Okay. Because now is always the highest. Now I don't tell this to clients, but here's what I tell clients. Okay. Number one, prices, you know, we can't tell you that prices are going to be higher in a year. They could be a little bit lower, but you look at all the charts, you look at all the, you know, the fear mongering that's on the news to talk about, are we headed toward a recession? Are home prices going to crash? You look at the charts and they list Utah as not likely to drop prices. We have large families and we have a lot of people moving in. Okay. We do not have enough inventory to cover everybody moving in right now. Now, there is a pent-up demand right now because you got a lot of people that want to buy that are sitting on the fences. Okay. So the second they get some good news, rates drop a little bit further, there's going to be an influx in buyers again. And I'm afraid I think, you know, prices have gone up crazy. They're kind of flattening off. But I think once you see rates get back into the fours, I really think you're going to see an influx again. I just think anybody that's waiting to time the market, number one, I've been in this business over 20 years. I've sold thousands of homes. I cannot tell you when the best time to buy is because who knows what's going to happen 12 months from now, 6 months from now, 3 years. But what I do know is 10 years from now, they're going to be very glad that they bought the house. Those that have been in my classes, I bought my current house in 2006. Anybody that knows the market knows that was a horrible time to buy. Okay, I bought my house for $475,000. 3 years later, I could have sold it for $300,000. Not a good way to go, right? But I kept it. It's now, Zillow says it's worth $900,000. So we know over 10-year periods that people are going to be way better off buying now than waiting. So anyway, 10:30 even, 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Thanks, everyone.
James, we had one more question just come in the chat.
Okay.
She said, maybe a stupid question. If our client is willing to offer this, are we then required to include the agent remarks that the offer is only available through the preferred lender security home? Do all lenders offer a 2-1 buy down?
Oh, that's a good question there.
Yeah, just come to security home. You'll be safe.
I love that question, actually. Yes. Yeah, they're totally good to just say this is only through security home mortgage. The reality is I mean, the seller can put whatever they want, you know, per seller, only to be offered through security home mortgage. You can put that if you write in that per seller thing, because you're required obedience to the seller, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. The reality is any lender can do it. So sorry, any lender that offers the 2-1 buy down can do it. So most lenders can. So I would love to say this is something unique, but the best thing about this industry is we can do anything that other lenders do. And the worst thing is any lender can usually do what we can do as well. So it's just like realtors. We're all on level playing field. So,
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anything
I'm
else?
going to stop the recording. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay. I'm out of here. Have a good one.
See ya.